Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone, and today I'm excited to share my latest design team project for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy. And again, Angel Dreams Crafts is owned by Kim, and she sells gorgeous laces and trims, embellishments, bling, flowers, paper, appliques, doilies. She has some kits. And she also sells some of her handmade items on her Etsy store. And if you open up that description box below, I do have a link so that you can easily find her Etsy store and shop for some of the items that I'll be sharing with you today that I used in my project. I also have links for her Instagram page and also her Facebook group. And if you guys subscribe to those, she does post every time she gets new items in her store, not only in her Facebook group, but also on her Instagram page, so you usually know when new items are popping up in her store. She does have a lot of really fun stuff that sells out pretty fast, so my recommendation always is to buy anything that you think you really want because it might not be there the next day, because like I said, she does sell out of certain things pretty fast. And also, if I haven't mentioned it in the description box below, I also have links for the other talented ladies who are on her design team, and they are creating some fabulous projects. And I also have links for some of my past design team projects for Kim's store. So lots of inspiration for you guys if you are curious to see what we've all been up to. And the one thing that Kim just recently started carrying in her store that I'm really excited about is paper. And she sent me some paper in also a coffee dyed paper kit in my design team package. And so that's what I started off with this month for my first project. Is I took out the paper that she sent and then also the coffee dyed paper kit that she sent, and I just sat down and played and made a ton of different junk journal embellishments that I can't wait to share with you guys. And I just wanted to show you the paper that I used for today's project. There's all sorts of fun stuff, and now she even has even more available in her store of different vintage style and kind of shabby chic style papers. So really excited about those in her store. And so you can see I just have a little bit left. I know that there was like 2 of every sheet when I got this paper pad, and I'm now just down to a couple full sheets and scraps because I played with a ton of them. And then the other thing that she sent was this envelope chocked full of items to use in paper crafting. It was coffee dyed paper kit. She had a doily, she had some fibers, she had some CD envelopes, she had tags in it, dictionary pages, she had coffee dyed paper, which of course I love because I absolutely hate coffee dyeing and tea dyeing paper. So for someone to send me some paper that was tea dyed or coffee dyed that I could play with and I didn't have to take the time to do it is a huge bonus for me. So I love that she's carrying these kits in her store right now. She also had some vintage book papers in there, and the papers that I got actually were about Johann Sebastian Bach, which is a composer, music composer. I also got some music paper in mine. There was a piece of fiber in here, or then I used that for, or it was sari silk. I'm not quite sure what it was made out of, but I used that on some of my tags, so I used that all up. And then she also had a doily in there, and this is what the doily looked like. And I used just a remnant of the doily. That I have some extra ones because she also sells doily kits in her store, and I had a few extra of them, so I did pull this out. And I am using part of these in my next design team project, but I did have one here, so I wanted to show that to you guys. And then she sent, of course, some different laces and trims to use also this month. And so here is one of them, and I did tea dye this one, so it is darker. It normally is white, a very nice white, but as you can see, it took the tea dye very nicely and made it very vintage looking. I used most of this trim, and she still has this in her store. I also used a little bit of this trim on today's project, and she still has that available in her store. I also received this daisy trim in my design team package, and I used quite a bit of this on today's project, But for today's project, I did also tea dye it. So what you see on my projects will be slightly darker than this. It'll be about this color or slightly darker. And then the other favorite thing that's in her store that she has, that I use a couple of pieces off of this flower trim, she also still has in her store. And I did tea dye these also, and I love this trim. I can't believe she hasn't sold out of it yet. It's one of my favorite trims in her shop. And it has the large flowers and the small flowers that you can cut apart. You can layer them. Of course, you can use it as is, but I almost always cut them apart. You can see a little remnant left there. So I just wanted to show you kind of what I used, and now I'll show you the pile of stuff that I created. Like I said, I just really went to town and had a lot of fun with that paper pad and then the coffee dyed kit that she sent. So I'm just going to start showing you a few of the items that I created. And here was the first item. I know some of you guys might also follow. I'm doing a window envelope series on different things you can make with window envelopes. And if you watch episode 6, I will also show this envelope in that, this window envelope in that. But this is kind of a window envelope flip with pockets. The original intention for this is to glue it down on a piece of paper in your journal on a page. And then it would flip open, and then you have the pocket, whether you make it pocket this way or above, or if you use it as a side tuck. This one I did choose to put some of her coffee dyed paper on the back though. So this one you could actually just paper clip in. But I just wanted to show you that the paper is from her store, pretty much everything but the cardstock, which I used some black cardstock and then also some craft cardstock in the projects today, and that came from my own stash. But if you see any trims, pretty much they're all from Kim's store or left over from past design team projects. And then the eyelash trim is from my stash. But here you can see this came from one of her doily kits. It was a connector piece. And then also a trim from her store. I did add this really small pearl in the middle of this. I love these connector pieces. They're so fun. Usually I use them on doily flowers, but sometimes it adds a really nice embellishment to your junk journals embellishments. And so that's the front. And then you can see right here is the little window envelope. And then if you pull out, I do have a tag. And so this is part of her paper collection that I received in my design team kit. Same with that. You can see a little bit of the vintage dictionary paper in the background. And then also behind my windows, because I like to make sure that there's something nice behind my windows, you can see some of the vintage book pages that I received in my design team kit. And then again, this flips open. And so I do have a pocket right here. And again, I have another journal card that I did just some basic collaging on. And then this is one of the papers, again, in that paper kit. And I left it blank because I love this, that there were still spots here to be able to journal on. So I made sure that I had a spot that you could just journal it on. This I fussy cut out from some of the paper and added some eyelash trim. And then here was another trim that I used, and I used every single piece of it in my project for this first one. And I just love this trim. She still has it in her store. I just love that it's really flat and thin, which is perfect for junk journals. And then the color of it is perfect for the vintage theme. So like I said, I ended up using every last bit. I mean, every last scrap in the stuff that I'm going to show you guys today of that trim. And then the back, I just used some of the coffee dyed paper and also added a stamp on that so you have a spot to journal. And of course this goes back in, but I'll do that off camera. In that coffee dyed kit that she sent, there was some coffee dyed CD envelopes, and so I did choose to decorate them. And so what I did is I ended up taking like the paper from the scrapbooking paper that she sent, and I die cut out a big circle in the middle, and then I had a square piece then left to layer on top of the coffee dyed envelope. So you can see she also overlaid some sort of lace or maybe a curtain panel or a tablecloth or something so that they do have nice little imprints in them so that there's some interest in them. And then I also, on the inside of each of these I did choose to layer some sort of paper that she had sent with. So this one has the coffee dyed paper on the inside. I just like to see when you put a journal card in. So if this was the right size journal card and it was in here, when you take it out to journal on, you see something pretty or something nice behind there instead of the white part of the CD envelope. So I chose just to use the coffee dyed paper there. I layered up some of her trims in the corner. And then down here you can see I added that trim right here that I'm in love with. And I added a die cut that said Dream. And again, in the paper that she sent in that coffee dyed kit, it was some vintage paper, and it was about the music composer Johann Sebastian Bach. And so there was actually a portrait of him, and so I decided to put that on the inside of this CD envelope, which was kind of fun. And then the top of the page also had his name on it, so I just cut it out and layered it on some of the trim there. And then again up here, I have a piece of one of her trims and another piece of the connector piece. And this time, instead of putting a pearl in the middle of it, I put a brad in the middle of it, kind of a red color. And I really like that. I wish I'd thought to do that more often with these connector pieces. It just adds a little bit of color and interest to them. And I thought that was neat with all the polka dots on this particular paper that was in that scrapbook paper pad that she sent. And then here was the last one that I decorated, and again, the inside you can see some of the vintage dictionary paper, coffee dyed dictionary paper. I did have this little trim left from one of my past design team projects from Kim's shop, and I'm not sure if she still has this in her store or not. I didn't look for that one, but I did add that right here just for some more visual interest. But I do know that she has some other nice appliques. If she doesn't have this one still left in her store, she does have some other nice appliques that you could definitely do the same thing for. And then again, I added a die cut that said Hope up at the top. And how I would use these in a journal is I would either, most likely I would glue them down on my page, and then you'd be able to flip it up, and then you could stick your journal card in that way, and then you still have space back here to journal on. So that's how I would use these in a journal. And then of course, since I cut out that big circle in the middle of the scrapbooking paper, I had circles left, and I was trying to figure out what to do with them. And I've made these before, but they're kind of a fun, like, little hidden pocket that you can use inside of your journal. So I did start off with some craft cardstock base. I sewed around the edges. And I have two of them, so then I made two circles. This is the scrapbooking paper that came from the middle of one of these. And then I cut another circle and cut it in half, and then I made pockets in here. And at the very end, I went ahead and used some of my scraps that I had left after making some of the other embellishments, and I added tags. So there's a craft cardstock tag, and then from the paper in Kim's shop. So that was the first one, and again, you can see some layering. All these trims, again, came from Kim's shop. And again, this image right here was from one of the papers that I fussy cut out or ripped out, and I inked it a little bit, and then I also sewed around it just for some more interest. But I really love how these turned out. So again, I made 3 of these, and then so here's the second one. That one has a typewriter with roses on it. That little daisy trim. The little delicate vintage looking trim, and I added another die cut over it. And again, it opens up, and there's 2 tags. They're almost exactly identical to the previous ones I showed you, so I'm not going to pull them out. But I wanted to show you that one. And then here was the last one I created. Again, some nice trims from her store. And this one's that fun one, smaller dangle that you can cut up and use. And this one's really fun in that, let me see if I can pull that out again. Here was that trim again. And what's fun about this one is that you can cut it down. And so you can cut out like this middle piece right here, and you can make like a little butterfly, or you can use it as antennas. Leave it as is. You can also cut off down here and do some different things with this down here. And so I'll show you a couple different things as we go through. And then I think to make it a butterfly, I just reversed it this way, so the bigger wings were on the top, and I cut out the 3 pieces down here. And then up here, what I ended up doing is I left this little circle right here and this one here, and then I cut out these 2 pieces in the middle, and then that also leaves a little round spot up here. And so you can use this as an embellishment also, But then if you leave these two hanging right here, it gives you a little antennae for your butterfly. So just wanted to show you guys that, because I did do that, use this on quite a few of my pieces today that I'm sharing with you guys. So that was the last circle one I sent, or I made. And then in the coffee dye kit that Kim sent, she did have some tags. She also has some really nice smaller vintage craft kind of colored tags in her shop that I've worked with in the past. But in her kit, she had these really large ones that were really fun. So I just layered some of the scrapbooking paper on top and I sewed around it. I added some of that beautiful trim again at the bottom. And these ones I didn't do any other collaging or any other embellishing, because these papers, again, I thought were perfect that you could still journal on them in your journals. And so I like to leave those types of paper plain and not do any more collaging on, just because it gives you extra real estate to journal on. And then this was the trim right here that was included in the coffee dyed kit. And she had it wrapped around several times. So you got quite a bit of it. She had it wrapped around the papers several times. And it made perfect pieces for either, you could tie a junk journal shut, but you could use it as the tops of your tags. And so that's what I chose to do with that one. And then this tag, I ended up having to add some seam binding because I did run out of that other trim that she included. But Kim does carry some different pastel seam binding in her store now too. So you can purchase that also in Kim's shop. So those are the tags that I created. And then I went ahead and I cut out, I have a die cut machine, and so I cut out these cute little pockets and added tags to each one of them, and I embellished each one of them using the scrapbook paper. And so this little piece right here was this same trim. After I cut out the middle pieces, I had these little remnants left over, and in my world, all these pieces work great for junk journals, so I just layered a little bit of eyelash trim behind it and put it on the corner. This one I didn't do anything extra to, again, thinking it gives you a little bit of extra real estate to journal on because that's light enough. I did layer on some black cardstock, some of the dictionary paper that was included in that coffee dye kit, and sewed on it, and then I made just some basic tags. So I'll show you guys this first one, again using the coffee dyed paper that she sent in the kit. But all the tags look exactly the same in these rests, so I won't show you guys those. But I just wanted to show you what I had done on that one. So each one of these little pockets is quite different. Again, I used a die cut to create these little pockets or paper bags. I know you can purchase similar bags like this at some of the big craft stores, but since I have a die cut that does it, I just die cut my own. And so again, I had that fun trim at the bottom, did some layering again with scrapbooking paper. This little piece right here was sometimes when I cut off the dictionary paper or the top of the vintage book paper that she sent, I would have these little strips. So I try and use those in different parts of my projects. So you can see just that little bit of strip hanging out right there. Here's the next one again, that favorite new trim that she has in her store. And some of that daisy trim with some eyelash trim behind it. And again, just some layering with the coffee dyed paper and the scrapbooking paper. I just love how all of these turned out. And then there's the next one again, just a different format. And then in the middle of that little daisy flower trim, I added a little red eyelet to match the red roses. And then here is the next one again, just a little piece from that one particular trim that you can make into butterflies with some eyelash trim again. I sewed around all of the images. And then here's the next one. I just added the one little piece here. I think that was my very last piece that I had left of this whole trim. I mean, she sent a whole yard of it, but I used it all. I just loved it. It was so perfect for junk journal decorating. Again, just doing lots of different layering. You can see the coffee dyed paper, a paper strip right there. You can see the dictionary paper in the background. And again, the tag. So those are the pockets with tags that I created. I also created a little corner tuck pocket again where you could tuck something in this once you glue it down. So I used some more of that trim along the edge and then one of the flower trims with some eyelash trim behind it. I then made a little bit larger journal cards. Again, just layering a ton of her different laces and trims. I did some sewing around each layers. I added the dictionary paper, the coffee dyed paper, and I started off with some craft cardstock. Again, you can just see one of those paper scraps right there hanging out the top of that one and a little bit on the bottom. This one has a daisy trim, another type of trim from her shop underneath. And then right here is a piece of the doily. I had used the rest of it on my next design team project that I'm working on, and I had just had this remnant, so right before I recorded I glued it down because I like to try to clean up my desk in between projects. And since I had that little piece left, I added it to this one. I love how that turned out. And then right here you can see how I cut that trim up to make the little butterfly. So cute. I'll definitely be doing more of that. And then the daisy trim. And then another one, you can see I added the tabs also from some of the trim at the tops of some of my journal cards. And on that scrapbooking paper, they did have the squares already cut kind of in like a ATC type size. And so that's how I decorated all of these ones. And then also those paper bags that I showed you, they were already rectangle like that. And then here, this little round piece right here was that tail end of that trim. It came from this part of the trim that I had left once I cut out the antennae for the butterfly. I just had this little round piece left right there. And another journal card with some layering. Like I said, I just had so much fun. I finally decided I better stop and record the video so I could get going on my next project. But like I said, this was a fun paper kit to work with, and I'm excited to see that she has some different papers also. Scrapbooking paper kits. They're all 6x6 paper pads in our store right now. And then I also made a couple of larger journal cards, so just to kind of compare sizes there. I ruffled up some of the one trim and sewed on the bottom, and then I had like a strip left, so I just did some layering with the coffee dyed paper and the dictionary paper. This little trim up here was an embroidery trim left from a past design team project, and I just had that little piece there that I decided was perfect. It matched all the flowers, and again, I like making tabs on some of my journal cards, so I just folded up this same trim down here and made tabs. Again, you can see the tab. This time I added that trim to it, some more eyelash trim, some of that daisy trim with some eyelets in the middle of it, and just some different paper layering with the scrapbook paper. And this one I think had the vintage paper in it on Johann Sebastian Bach. I tried to leave the name up there just to add some interest to the background collage. And so those were all of my main pieces, and then as I was cleaning up my desk, I like to make some random stuff just to use up the bits and pieces so then I don't get overwhelmed with all my scraps. And so I did have some of these cardboard or craft papers left, and so what I did is kind of making like a master board is what they call it, where you just layered on all the bits and pieces. So all these bits and pieces were left over from those other projects, and I just layered them onto this craft cardstock, so then they're ready to go if I decide down the road to decorate and add some more things. And so here was one of the embellishments that I had ripped out and added, so you could easily add that, and you could add some more trim, and then I would maybe add like another word or a label right here, and then you have another journal card finished. And so like I said, I like to take the scraps and finish them off so I don't have a lot of scraps left. So I have a lot of nice starter pieces, so I'll just show you guys those real quick, just from leftover scraps from doing those other projects. So I have 4 of those. And then I also made some like page clusters or page edgers. So these would go on the end of your page in a junk journal. Again, these are all just using up the scraps left over from those other projects. And so I just, you know, quick layered them onto the leftover scraps of even the craft cardstock, and just made some different things for page edgers and stuff, clusters. So then I would have, and you can see right here, Some of them have the half circle, and that was left from those inside pockets for those circle pockets that I showed you guys. And so that was just the leftover piece there. There was another one with the half circle on it. You know, some of these didn't end up, some of these will need some sort of embellishment once they get put into a journal, but at least I have the base work done and I could do something with them, because these ones, like I said, I didn't have any pieces left to add to them, but I would probably fussy cut out some more flowers and add to the middle of these. And there's another finished one just to show you with the flower image and the eyelash trim behind it. I just wanted to thank everybody again so much for watching today. Don't forget to open up that description box to check out the various links that we discussed earlier. And until next time, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.